The chair slipped on the terrace stone, and Carmela Conti went with it. Not a fall. Not quite. A lurch, a loss of footing, the specific terrifying moment when an old woman's body decides the ground is negotiable and her hands have nothing to grab. Sophia was already moving. She crossed 4 feet of terrace in less than 2 seconds and got both hands under Carmela's arms before the old woman went anywhere she couldn't come back from. Held her. Steady. Firm. Talking the whole time. I've got you. I've got you. You're okay. Just breathe until Carmela's feet found the stone again and her hands found Sophia's, and she held on the way people held on when they'd been genuinely frightened. The terrace laughed. Not cruelly. That was the thing. Just the automatic, uncomfortable laugh of people who didn't know what to do with an old woman's near fall, and a waitress kneeling on the stones, holding her hands, and murmuring to her like she was the only person in the restaurant. Sophia didn't look up. She didn't laugh either. She stayed on her knees on the terrace of Ristorante Bellini on a Thursday afternoon in Little Italy and held Carmela Conti's hands until the old woman's breathing slowed and the shaking in her fingers stopped. From the restaurant doorway, a man watched all of it. He'd arrived 30 seconds too late to stop the chair from slipping. He'd been exactly on time for everything that came after. I need to tell you who Sophia Carbone was before I tell you what happened next. Because the easy version of this story is about a waitress and a powerful man, and what his mother meant to him. That version is true, but it's missing the part that actually matters, which is that Sophia had been doing what she did on that Thursday for 8 months before anyone powerful enough to change anything ever saw her do it. 8 months of caring about Carmela Conti with no audience and no reward and no reason except that she'd watched her own grandmother sit alone in restaurants and couldn't walk past the feeling. That's the part that made the difference. Not the kneeling on the terrace stones. Everything before it. Sophia was 24, from Carroll Gardens in Brooklyn. An Italian-American in the specific way that meant her grandmother still made her own pasta on Sundays, and her mother argued about everything, and her father was the quietest man in any room until you disagreed with him about food. She'd grown up in the particular warmth of a family that measured love in what they fed you and how loud they got when they were happy, which was loud, which was a lot. She'd moved to Manhattan for a culinary program she'd had to leave when her mother's health got complicated, and she'd taken the waitressing job at Ristorante Bellini as a bridge. Something to pay rent while she figured out the next part of the plan. 2 years later, she was still there, which told you something about the plan and something about how the bridge had started to feel like a destination. And Bellini was the kind of restaurant that had been in Little Italy long enough to have opinions about itself. White tablecloths, outdoor terrace on warm days, a wine list that required a second page, the kind of food that reminded you that Italian cooking had been serious long before American restaurants decided to make it fancy. The regulars were a mix. Neighborhood people who'd been coming for 30 years, tourists who'd been pointed here by the right article, and a quieter tier of customer who came consistently, tipped well, and was greeted by the sommelier before they reached their table. Carmela Conti was in that third category. She came every Thursday at noon. Corner table on the terrace when the weather allowed, the round table by the window when it didn't. Always alone. Always the same order. Minestrone to start, veal piccata, a single glass of Barolo that she nursed through the meal. She tipped in cash, always more than the bill, always left without saying goodbye to anyone except whatever waitstaff happened to be clearing her table. Sophia had been assigned the terrace section in her 3rd month at Bellini, which was when she first took Carmela's order. She noticed the hands first, not the shaking, not immediately. The rings. 3 of them on the right hand, the kind of jewelry that had been worn every day for decades and had become part of the person rather than an accessory. A wedding band that had moved to the right hand at some point, which Sophia knew meant a widow. 2 others, one with a small stone, one plain gold, that looked like gifts rather than purchases. The minestrone today is excellent, Sophia had said, the first Thursday. The chef made it this morning. Carmela had looked up from the menu. She always looked at the menu, even though she always ordered the same thing, which Sophia later understood was the ritual of it, the performance of choosing that made the meal feel like an occasion. She'd looked at Sophia with eyes that were still sharp in a face that had gotten quieter over time. "How do you know?" she'd said. "I had some in the kitchen before service," Sophia said. "Chef lets us taste the specials." "And?" "It's the best thing on the menu today," Sophia said. "But don't tell him I said that. He'll be impossible." Carmela had looked at her for another moment. Then something in her face had shifted. Not a smile exactly, something more internal. A small private response to being spoken to like a person rather than a table number. "Oh, the minestrone," she'd said, "and the veal piccata." "Good choice," Sophia said. "I know," Carmela said. The thing about Carmela that Sophia understood before she knew anything else about her was that she was lonely in the specific way of people who had been very not lonely for a long time. Not the loneliness of someone who had always been alone, the loneliness of someone whose life had been full and loud, and then had gotten quiet in ways they hadn't chosen. She talked about her husband Aldo when Sophia sat with her. Not every Thursday. Some weeks, Carmela was in a quieter place, and Sophia had learned to read the difference. But the weeks when she wanted to talk, she talked about Aldo the way people talked about people they were still in conversation with, even after they were gone. The way he'd taken his espresso, was the particular sound he made when he was pleased about something. The Sunday dinners that had filled whatever apartment or house they'd lived in, with the kind of noise that made silence afterward feel like a subtraction. "He would have liked you," Carmela told Sophia once. On a slow Thursday in late winter, the terrace empty, just the 2 of them at the corner table while the lunch rush finished inside. "Why?" Sophia said. "Because you don't perform," Carmela said. "You just do the thing." "He was like that too." She looked at her wine glass. "Most people perform. They make the gesture, and you're supposed to appreciate the gesture more than the thing itself." She looked up. "You don't make people feel like a charity case." Sophia had thought about that for a long time afterward, about what it meant to help someone in a way that didn't make them feel smaller. Victor Mancini had told her twice to stop spending extra time at table 7. Victor was 47, had been managing Bellini for 11 years, and had a precise understanding of what fine dining service was supposed to look like that had no room in it for waitstaff sitting with customers during the slow hour. It wasn't professional. It wasn't appropriate. it created expectations in other tables. The first time he said it, Sophia nodded and went back to her other tables. The second time, she said, "She comes every week alone. She's been coming for, I don't know how long before me. She's a regular." "All the more reason to maintain professional distance," Victor said. "She tips 3 times the bill," Sophia said. Victor paused, reconsidered. "Well, don't overdo it," he said, which was as close to permission as he came. She didn't overdo it. She just continued doing exactly what she'd been doing. The Thursday it happened was warm enough for the full terrace, every table occupied, the lunch crowd at its peak, the particular controlled noise of a full outdoor service. Sophia had 4 tables. Carmela was at her corner, 40 minutes into her meal, the Barolo half finished. Sophia saw it before it happened, the way you sometimes saw things when you'd been paying attention to a person long enough to know their patterns. Carmela shifted in her chair. A small adjustment, the kind you made without thinking. But the terrace stones were uneven at the corner, and the chair leg caught the edge of a slight lip in the stone. And the shift became a lurch, and the lurch became the moment where gravity had opinions, 4 feet away, moving before she'd consciously decided to move, both hands under Carmela's arms, the old woman's weight against her. Not much. Carmela was small, but enough to feel the reality of it, the fact of what had almost happened. The terrace went quiet for a second. Then someone laughed, a short sound, quickly covered but real. Then another, the particular social contagion of discomfort, finding a release. Sophia didn't hear them. She was talking to Carmela. "I've got you. You're okay. Just breathe. I've got you." The words that came out automatically, the ones she'd used with her grandmother once, years ago. A different kind of catching. Carmela's hands found hers and held on. "I'm all right," Carmela said, after a moment. Her voice was steady, but her hands weren't. "I know," Sophia said. "Take your time." She didn't rush her, didn't stand her up quickly and make it efficient, just stayed where she was, on her knees on the terrace stone, holding the old woman's hands, until Carmela's breathing evened out and the shaking in her fingers slowed. "Thank you," Carmela said quietly. "Just for Sophia." "Of course," Sophia said, when she finally stood and helped Carmela settle back into the chair, repositioned now, away from the uneven stone, which Sophia had noted mentally and would report to Victor after service. She became aware of the room again. The laughter had stopped. Some of the tables were looking, the table directly to the left. 2 men in suits, mid-30s, of the kind who ate business lunches at Bellini 3 times a week, was looking with the particular expression of people who had laughed and were now uncertain whether they should have. Sophia looked at them once, didn't say anything, looked away. She became aware of the restaurant doorway. She wasn't sure why she looked there. Some peripheral movement, something that registered before she'd identified it. A man was standing in the entrance to the terrace, large, black shirt open at the collar, tattoos visible at the neck and both forearms, the build of someone who'd spent years making themselves impossible to miss. He was looking at Carmela, then at Sophia, then at Carmela again. His jaw was tight. His eyes were doing something she couldn't read from this distance, something that was several things at once. Carmela looked up and saw him. "Luca," she said. Just his name. The particular way a mother said a name that contained a whole paragraph. The man, Luca, crossed the terrace in 8 steps. He reached his mother, put his hand on her shoulder, looked at her face, checked something with his eyes that he apparently found satisfactory. Then he straightened and looked at Sophia. She still had Carmela's wine glass in her hand, which she'd picked up when she stood. She almost fell, Sophia said. Straight. No performance. The stone's uneven at this corner. I'll flag it with management. Luca looked at her for a moment. Did anyone help? He said. Sophia glanced at the surrounding tables, back at him. I was close, she said, which was true, and also not the full answer to the question he'd asked. He looked at the table of businessmen who had laughed, or if they found other things to look at. Sit with her for a minute, Luca said, to Sophia. Not a command. It didn't have the edge of a command. More like a request from someone who didn't make many requests. I have other tables, Sophia said. I'll get someone to cover them, he said. You don't work here, she said. Something moved through his expression. Something that was almost surprise. Almost. No, he said. I don't. He said something to the nearest inside waiter in a tone Sophia couldn't hear from where she stood. The inside waiter's posture changed immediately in the specific way postures changed when a person understood exactly who they were speaking to. He went to cover Sophia's tables. Sophia sat down across from Carmela. Carmela picked up her wine glass, looked at Sophia over it. He worries, she said. I can see that, Sophia said. He worries about everything, Carmela said. He always has. She sipped her wine. His father was the same way. Behind her, Sophia was aware of Luca Conti standing at the edge of the terrace with his arms crossed, looking at the street, giving them space while remaining exactly close enough. She didn't know his last name yet. She didn't know what it meant. She would. Over the following weeks, Luca Conti came to Bellini on Thursdays. Not every Thursday. He wasn't the kind of man whose schedule bent to routine, or if it did, the routine wasn't something he advertised. But 3 out of the next 4 Thursdays, he was there. Not at Carmela's table. He never sat with her during the meal, which Sophia later understood was because Carmela had told him explicitly not to, for that her Thursday lunch was her thing, and she would not have it turned into supervised dining. He sat inside, at the bar, with an espresso he nursed for longer than espressos were designed to be nursed, positioned where he could see the terrace through the window. Sophia knew he was there before she saw him each time. Not because of anything dramatic, just the particular change in atmospheric pressure that certain people created in rooms. The way the inside staff moved slightly differently. The way the sommelier appeared at the bar without being called. The way Victor, who was normally a contained and self-important presence, developed a quality of careful attentiveness that he did not extend to most customers. She noticed, she filed it. She went back to her tables. The second Thursday he was there, he spoke to her. She was coming through the interior on her way to the service station when he said, without looking up from his espresso, "The stone's been fixed." She stopped. What? The corner of the terrace. He looked up then. The uneven one. It was remortared Tuesday. She stared at him. I flagged it with Victor after service last Thursday, she said. I know, he said. Victor mentioned it needed attention. A pause. I own the building. She looked at this man at the bar, the tattoos, the espresso, the specific quality of stillness he had that wasn't quite relaxation, and rearranged several things in her understanding of the situation. "Carmela comes here every Thursday," she said slowly. "And you own the building?" "My family has owned this block since before I was born," he said. "And you've been watching through the window?" "I've been in the building," he said. "For various reasons." She looked at him for a moment. "For 8 months," she said. "She's been coming alone for... I've been here 2 years, and she was already a regular when I arrived. That's a long time to watch through a window." Something moved through his expression. Not defensiveness. Something more complicated. "She doesn't want company," he said. She was very clear about that. "She wants someone to talk to," Sophia said. "That's different from company." He looked at his espresso. "I know," he said quietly. The service station was waiting. 3 tables needed attention. Then Sophia had a job that required her to be in 12 places simultaneously, and she was standing at a bar having a conversation that felt like it had more underneath it than she could currently see. "She talks about your father," Sophia said, "when she's in the mood to talk." He looked up. "What does she say?" he said. "That he would have liked me," she said, "because I don't perform." His expression did the thing again, the multiple things at once. "He would have," Lucas said. "He had no patience for performance." "Neither do I," Sophia said. She went back to her tables. Behind her, she heard him set his espresso cup down with the specific sound of someone who had expected a shorter conversation and wasn't sure what to do with a longer one. Gina Ferretti was the other Thursday waitress, the one who covered the interior section while Sophia worked the terrace. She was 31, from Howard Beach, had been at Bellini 4 years, and possessed the particular quality of knowing everything about everyone in the restaurant that came from paying attention while appearing not to. She found Sophia at the service station between courses. "You talked to Luca Conti," she said. "Not a question." "I talked to a man at the bar," Sophia said. "Luca Conti," Gina said again. More specifically, "He said he owns the building." Gina looked at her with the expression of someone watching a person stand at the edge of something significant without knowing what was below. "His family owns half of Little Italy," Gina said carefully. "And several other things that aren't on any property record." She picked up a bread basket. "He's been coming in on Thursdays for about a month, since she paused, "since his mother almost fell." Sophia looked at the terrace through the window. Carmela at her corner table, the veal piccata in front of her, the wine glass in her steady hand. "He's been watching to make sure she's okay," Sophia said. "He's been watching to make sure you're still doing what you do," Gina said. She met Sophia's eyes. "Those are different things." She took the bread basket and went. The 3rd Thursday, Carmela told Sophia about Luca. Not the full version. Sophia understood later that the full version was the kind of thing that didn't get told to waitresses at Thursday lunches, that it lived in a different register of conversation entirely. But the outline, or the shape of him, the way mothers described their children when they were trying to explain something complicated without saying the complicated parts. "He runs things," Carmela said. The specific Italian-American phrasing that meant everything and named nothing. "Like his father did. Like his grandfather before that." She looked at her wine. It's not the life I would have chosen for him. But it's the life he chose. And he's good at it. She looked up. He's a good man. That matters more than people think. How does he run things and be a good man? Sophia said. Carmela looked at her with the sharp eyes. The same way anyone is, she said. Badly sometimes. Better than they were before, mostly. With people they love. She picked up her wine. He has rules he doesn't break. Lines he doesn't cross. They cost him things. Business things sometimes. He doesn't complain about it. She paused. His father had the same rules, different lines, but the same idea. What's the idea? Sophia said. Carmela looked at her steadily. That there are people who are not in the life, she said, and those people don't pay for the life. They don't get used. They don't get touched. She set her wine down. He's never broken that rule, not once. Sophia thought about that. You're telling me something, she said. I'm having lunch, Carmela said. I talk when I have lunch. The complication arrived on the fourth Thursday. It didn't come from Luca. It came from Victor, which was both unsurprising and poorly timed. The restaurant had a private event booking for the following month, a corporate dinner for 40, full terrace reservation, the kind of booking that Victor treated with the reverence usually reserved for religious occasions. He'd decided to restructure the Thursday section assignments to give his most experienced staff the sections that would be most visible to the corporate client when they came for a preview dinner the following week, which meant Sophia was being moved off the terrace. He told her between services, in the hallway outside the kitchen, with the brisk efficiency of someone delivering information rather than having a conversation. Thursday section changes next week, he said. You'll take the interior north. Sophia looked at him. That's Gina's section. Gina's moving to the private room, your interior north. Carmela Conti is on the terrace Thursday, Sophia said. Now Victor's expression did the thing it did when he was about to say something he'd already decided. Mrs. Conti will have excellent service from whoever covers the terrace. She comes every Thursday, Sophia said. She has a specific server she's used to. That matters for Sophia. Victor's voice had the patient hardness of someone ending a discussion. This is a staffing decision. It's not negotiable. She stood in the hallway for a moment after he walked away. Her jaw was tight. Her hands were flat at her sides. She went back to her tables. She didn't tell Carmela. That felt wrong, making the old woman's Thursday lunch about a staffing change, about something that was Sophia's problem to manage. She served the rest of the afternoon professionally, efficiently, said goodbye to Carmela when she left the way she always did. She did tell Luca, not intentionally. She was coming through the interior when he stopped her. The third Thursday he'd been at the bar, and she'd been avoiding the interaction because her jaw was still tight from the hallway conversation, and she didn't trust herself to be uncomplicated about it. Something happened, he said. Not a question. The same directness his mother had. She looked at him. Victor's moving me off the terrace section next week, she said. Corporate preview dinner. He wants his most experienced staff visible. Luca was quiet for a moment. You've been on the terrace for 2 years, he said. Apparently that's not the relevant calculation, she said. What is? Appearances, she said. It's a fine dining thing. Everything is about how it looks. She picked up the coffee order she'd come in for. Your mother will have good service. It's a good restaurant. It's not about good service, he said. I know, she said. But it's not your problem. My mother looks forward to Thursdays, he said. "I know that too," she said. She went back to the terrace. She didn't see his expression when she walked away. She didn't see him pull out his phone. She didn't hear the brief, quiet call he made, still at the bar, in the low, controlled voice he used when things were being arranged. She found out the next morning when Victor called her at 8:15. "The section assignments are staying as they are," he said. His voice had the specific quality of a man who had been asked to reverse a decision he'd made confidently and was now managing his dignity around the reversal. "Thursday Terrace is yours." Sophia held the phone. "What changed?" she said. "Administrative decision," Victor said. "Whose?" she said. A pause. "The building owner expressed a preference," Victor said carefully, "for consistency in service for long-term, regular customers." She stood in her Brooklyn apartment at 8:15 in the morning with the phone in her hand and looked at the wall. She thought about a man at a bar, nursing an espresso through a window. About "my mother looks forward to Thursdays," about the specific phone call she hadn't heard, and the arrangement she hadn't asked for. She wasn't sure how she felt about it. She knew she was back on the terrace Thursday. She knew that mattered to Carmela. She filed the rest of it in the place where she kept things she needed more time with. She didn't thank him the following Thursday. Not because she wasn't grateful. She was. In the complicated way you were grateful for something that was also slightly unsettling, like receiving a gift from someone you hadn't given permission to give you things. But because walking up to Luca Conti at the bar and saying, "Thank you for overriding my manager's decision," felt like acknowledging a dynamic she wasn't sure she wanted to acknowledge. So she did her job. Served the terrace, took Carmela's order, minestrone, veal piccata, Barolo, and sat with her for 10 minutes during the slow hour when the lunch rush thinned and the corner table became its own small world. She was aware of him at the bar the whole time. He didn't approach her. She told herself this was fine. It was not entirely fine. The conversation happened on the 5th Thursday, and it happened because Carmela made it happen. Carmela, who had been watching the situation with the focused attention of a woman who had spent 78 years reading rooms and people, and the particular charge in the air between two people who were both being very deliberate about not addressing something. She called Luca over herself. "Sit down," she said, when he appeared at the edge of the terrace. "I'm tired of watching you look at my waitress through a window." "I'm not," Luca started. "Sit down," Carmela said again. He sat. Carmela looked at Sophia. "Bring him an espresso," she said. "And sit. The terrace is half empty, and Victor is hiding in his office. You have time." Sophia looked at this old woman who had just arranged a situation with the unhurried certainty of someone who had earned the right to arrange things. "Mrs. Conti," she said. "Carmela," the old woman said. "I've told you that." She folded her hands on the table. "Sit." Sophia got the espresso. Sat. The three of them at the corner table of Ristorante Bellini's terrace on a Thursday afternoon was, in retrospect, where everything started. Not what came before. That was the foundation. But the actual start of the thing that became something neither Sophia nor Luca had planned was right there, with the Barolo and the espresso and Carmela between them eating her veal piccata, like she hadn't just engineered the entire situation. Luca wrapped his hands around the espresso cup, looked at Sophia. "Thank you," he said. "For the section." "You're thanking me?" she said. for not making it a problem, he said. Victor said you accepted the reversal without asking questions. I had questions, she said, but you didn't ask them. I asked one, she said. You didn't answer it. He looked at her. I intervened, he said, simply. Because my mother's Thursday matters to her, and you're what makes it what it is. He paused. I should have asked you first. I'm aware of that. Sophia looked at the table, at the espresso cup between his hands. Is that an apology? She said. It's an acknowledgement, he said. I don't always get the order right. The order of things? Ask first, he said. Then act. I usually do it the other way. Carmela made a small sound that was not quite a word. It meant something in the language she and Luca shared, the compressed communication of people who had been talking to each other for 36 years and had run out of need for full sentences. He's working on it, Carmela said, to Sophia, like a footnote. Luca's jaw moved. He looked at his mother. Oh, I'm right here, he said. I know, she said. She speared a piece of veal. That's why I said it where you could hear it. Over the following weeks, the Thursday pattern restructured itself. Luca stopped sitting at the bar. He sat at the table across from the terrace entrance, close enough to be present, far enough to give Carmela her lunch without it becoming something supervised. He ordered things from the menu rather than nursing a single espresso, which the kitchen staff took as a positive development and which Gina noted to Sophia with the specific tone she used when she was tracking something. He ordered the ossobuco, Gina said one Thursday. The ossobuco takes 40 minutes. It's a good dish, Sophia said. He's staying for 40 minutes, Gina said. On purpose. Gina. I'm just observing, she said. Sophia took Carmela her minestrone, came back through the interior, paused at Luca's table to ask if he wanted anything else while he waited for the ossobuco. Tell me something, he said, before she could complete the standard service check. She looked at him. About what? Anything, he said. You said you're nonno, in the city. She stopped. Brooklyn, she said. Carroll Gardens. Still? He died 4 years ago, she said. That's when I moved to Manhattan. He was quiet for a moment. I'm sorry, he said. The 2 words without decoration, which was how he said things. He was 81, Sophia said. He made his own pasta until 6 months before the end. He considered that a victory, and so do I. Something in Luca's expression warmed. My grandmother made her own pasta until she was 84, he said. She considered anything from a box an act of personal disrespect. She was right, Sophia said. She was always right, he said. She was terrifying. Sophia smiled. The real one, the one that came from somewhere genuine, rather than the professional warmth she'd learned to maintain through 8 hours of service. She noticed him notice it. She picked up her tray. The ossobuco will be about 20 more minutes, she said. Take your time, he said. She went back to the terrace. Carmela was watching her come through the door with the expression she wore when she was not watching something and wanted you to know she was not watching. He makes you smile, Carmela said. He said something funny, Sophia said. Carmela said, in the specific tone that was not agreement and not disagreement and contained everything. For the Thursday everything shifted was in early fall. The weather had turned enough that the terrace required the outdoor heaters, and the particular quality of the light was the amber kind that made everything look slightly more like a memory than an experience. Sophia had been at Bellini 3 months into whatever this had become on Thursday afternoons, and she was aware, with the specific awareness of someone who had been trying not to be aware, that she thought about Luca Conti on days that weren't Thursday. This was information she was not sure what to do with. She was clearing Carmela's table. The old woman had just left. A longer lunch than usual. They'd talked about Rosa, Carmela's sister who still lived in the Bronx and called every Sunday whether or not there was news when Luca appeared at the terrace entrance. Late today. He'd been there earlier, Ossobuco again, but had left at 2, and she'd assumed that was the end of it for the week. "Walk with me," he said. She looked at him. "My shift ends in 40 minutes. "I'll wait," he said. She finished her tables, counted her tips, changed out of her uniform apron in the back, kept the black shirt because she hadn't brought anything else, and came out to find him on the sidewalk outside Bellini, hands in his pockets, watching the Little Italy foot traffic with the patient stillness of someone who had nowhere else to be and had decided this was where he was. They walked. Not with a destination, just the particular Manhattan walk of 2 people going in a direction because they weren't ready to stop. Down Mulberry Street, past the bakeries and the restaurants, and the particular smell of the neighborhood in early fall. Something baking, something cooking, the cool edge of the season coming in underneath the warmth. She talked about Rosa today, Sophia said. "She does that when she's in a good place," Luca said. "Rosa makes her laugh." "They argue about everything," Sophia said. "Carmela told me. They've been arguing about the same thing since 1962. "Since before I was born," he said. "It's structural. It's not about the arguments." "What's it about?" "That they're still here," he said. "Still having the argument. That's the whole point." Sophia looked at the sidewalk, at the restaurant lights coming on as the afternoon got later, at the city doing its evening shift change. "She's doing well," she said. "I want you to know that. Not performing well, actually. She's sharper than people think." "I know," he said. "She's always been sharper than people think." He paused. "She was the one running the family for years, after my father died. Everyone thought I was running things. She was the one who knew where all the pieces were." "Did she want to run things?" Sophia said. He looked at her sideways. "No," he said. "She wanted to have dinner with my father on Sunday and argue with Rosa about the right way to make gravy and watch her grandchildren grow up." He paused. She did what was needed instead. "Does she have grandchildren?" Sophia said. A pause. "Not yet," he said. The sidewalk, the evening light, the particular weight of a sentence that wasn't quite what it appeared to be. Sophia's chest did something she noticed and then deliberately did not think about. "Luca," she said. "Yeah, I need to tell you something." He looked at her. "I'm not—" She stopped, started again. "The things you do, the way the staff moved when you came in the first day, the way Victor's voice changed on the phone. I know what that means in this neighborhood." She looked at him directly. "I grew up adjacent to it. Not in it. Carroll Gardens, my family was legitimate always, but adjacent. I know what it means." "I know you know," he said. "And I'm still walking down Mulberry Street with you," she said. He was quiet for a moment. "I'm aware of that," he said. I'm not saying it to—" She stopped. "I'm saying it because I don't want there to be a version of this where you think I don't understand what I'm adjacent to." She looked at the sidewalk. "I understand it. I'm choosing the adjacency." He stopped walking. Oh, she stopped too. He looked at her. The full, direct look, the one that didn't manage itself or soften its edges. "Why?" he said. She thought about Carmela's hands in hers on the terrace stones, about the rings on the right hand, about a woman whose life had gotten quiet in ways she hadn't chosen. "Because your mother told me your father would have liked me," she said, "and I think she was right, and I think you're more like him than either of you admits." She held his gaze, "And I think that matters." The evening moved around them. Little Italy at dusk, the lights coming on, the restaurants filling, the particular beautiful noise of a neighborhood doing what it had always done. Luca looked at her for a long moment. "I need to tell you something too," he said. "Okay," she said. "The businessmen," he said. "The table next to my mother. The ones who laughed." She remembered. The two suits, the short, covered sound. "What about them?" she said. "They won't be dining at Bellini again," he said, "or any restaurant I'm connected with." A pause. "I want you to know that wasn't done in anger. It was done because that's the line. You don't laugh at people He stopped. His jaw was tight. "You don't laugh at people who deserve better." She looked at him. "You were going to say something else," she said. "Yes," he said. "What were you going to say?" He looked at the sidewalk, back at her. "People I care about," he said. "That's the line." The evening light caught the gold of the street lamps and the sound of the neighborhood and the specific weight of a sentence that had taken everything it had. Her chest was doing the thing again. "Okay," she said softly. They stood on the sidewalk on Mulberry Street in the early fall dark. Neither of them moved to leave. The thing about choosing someone from a complicated world was that the complication didn't announce itself with a warning. It arrived sideways, in small things first. The Thursday after the Mulberry Street walk, Sophia arrived at Bellini to find Victor waiting for her in the hallway outside the kitchen, with the expression he wore when he'd received information he was still deciding how to use. "Mrs. Conti called this morning," he said. Sophia looked at him. "Is she okay?" "She's fine." He said it with the slight impatience of someone for whom an old woman's health was adjacent to the point rather than the point itself. She called to confirm her reservation and to request that her table be set with the good linen, the Pratese. He paused. "She's bringing a guest today." Sophia felt something in her chest shift. "A guest?" "Her son," Victor said. He said it in the specific tone of a man who had recently recalibrated his understanding of exactly who Luca Conti was and what his relationship to the restaurant meant. She'd like them seated together, on the terrace, corner table. Another pause. "She requested you specifically." Sophia looked at the hallway wall. "Okay," she said. Victor looked at her with the expression he sometimes wore when Sophia did something that didn't fit his model of how staff behaved. "You understand what this means," he said. It wasn't quite a question. "It means Mrs. Conti is having lunch with her son," Sophia said. Victor's expression adjusted. "Yes," he said. "Of course." He went back to his office. Sophia stood in the hallway for a moment. Then she went to set the corner table with the Pratese linen. They arrived together at 12:15. Carmela in a dark blue dress she hadn't worn to Thursday lunch before. Something more formal, more intentional. Luca in a jacket, which was also different from the black shirts of the bar Thursdays. They came through the restaurant together, and Carmela walked with the particular quality of a woman who had decided something and was satisfied with the decision. Sophia seated them, set the menus, brought water. "The usual," she said to Carmela. "Yes," Carmela said. She looked at Luca. "Order something," she said. "You never eat enough." "I eat fine," he said. "You eat like a man who forgets meals exist," she said. She looked at Sophia. "He forgets meals exist." "The ossobuco is excellent today," Sophia said. To Luca, with the neutral professionalism she could maintain when she needed to, which was not as neutral as it looked. "I'll have the ossobuco," Luca said. "Good choice," Sophia said. "I know," he said. She caught the echo of the first Thursday. Carmela saying the same words, the same flat confidence, and looked at him. He was looking back at her with the expression that was still several things at once, but that she was getting better at reading. She went to put in the order. Gina materialized at her elbow before she'd reached the service station. "They came together," Gina said. "I noticed," Sophia said. "She's wearing the blue dress," Gina said. "She hasn't worn that since." She stopped. "I've been here 4 years. I've never seen her wear that dress." "Gina." "I'm observing," Gina said. "This is what I do." The lunch was different from the Thursday lunches before it. Not in the food. The minestrone was the minestrone. The veal piccata was the veal piccata. The ossobuco arrived exactly as ordered. But in the quality of the table, Carmela and Luca talked the way people talked when they'd been not quite talking about something for a long time and had finally arrived at the place where they could. Sophia caught fragments when she served and cleared, not eavesdropping, just the ambient collection of a server who was close enough to her tables to do her job. Aldo's name. A street in the old neighborhood. Something about a decision Luca had made that Carmela had disagreed with and was apparently still disagreeing with, though with the warmth of someone who had already accepted the outcome. Once, and when Sophia was refilling the water, Carmela said, not quietly, not performed, just in the natural register of a woman having lunch, "She reminds me of your father's sister, Anna." Luca looked at his ossobuco. "I know," he said. "Anna was the best person I ever knew," Carmela said. "Before Aldo." Luca said nothing. "After Aldo," Carmela said. "She was still second." Sophia kept her eyes on the water glass. "Carmela," she said, when the glass was full, "can I get you anything else?" Carmela looked at her with the sharp eyes. "Yes," she said. "Sit down after service, both of you. I want espresso and I want company." After service, they sat. Carmela, Sophia, Luca, the corner table with the Pratesi linen. The terrace emptied out around them, the other tables cleared, the heaters doing their work against the fall chill. But Carmela told them about Anna. Not the full story. Some of it was private in the way that family stories were private, the specific weight of histories that didn't belong to anyone outside them. But enough. Anna Conti, Aldo's sister, who had been fierce and funny and had died young in a way the family still didn't talk about directly, who had been the kind of person that the people who loved her measured other people against for the rest of their lives, not cruelly, just as a compass. "She would have told you what she thought," Carmela said to Sophia. whether you asked or not. I do that, Sophia said. I know, Carmela said. That's why I said it. Luca was quiet through the Anna story, which was its own kind of telling. The particular quiet of a person receiving something they'd carried for a long time but had never heard described from the outside. When Carmela finished, the three of them sat with the story for a moment. Then Carmela stood, the deliberate, careful movement, Luca's hand immediately at her elbow, Sophia half rising before Carmela waved her down. I need the ladies' room, she said. I don't need an escort. She went inside. Luca and Sophia sat at the corner table alone. The terrace was quiet, the heaters, the sound of the street, the fall light going the way it went in late afternoon. She does this, Luca said. I know, Sophia said. She's been doing it since the first Thursday, he said. Engineering it. He looked at the restaurant doorway his mother had gone through. She knew exactly what she was doing when she called you over that first day and asked you to sit. She's been doing it longer than that, Sophia said. I think the whole Thursday lunch was always partly about this. He looked at her. What do you mean? He said. She comes alone every Thursday, Sophia said carefully. She's been coming for years. You own the building. You could have arranged to be here any Thursday you wanted. She knew you were watching. She looked at the doorway. She set up the situation where you'd have to come in. The chair slipping, I don't know if that was... It wasn't, he said, quickly. The stone was genuinely uneven. I checked. A pause. But everything after. She knew I'd come in when she almost fell. She knew I'd see you. She's been preparing you, Sophia said. For a long time. Luca looked at the table. She told me about you, he said, the Thursday after the fall. I wasn't there, and she called me that evening and she said there's a girl at the restaurant. She helps me. She doesn't make me feel like a burden. He paused. My mother doesn't say things like that. She doesn't tell me when people are good to her. She told me. Sophia's chest was full of something warm and slightly frightening. What did you do? She said. I went in the following Thursday, he said, to see. And you kept going, she said. And I kept going, he said. The complication arrived the following week. Not from Luca. Not from Carmela. From a man named Sal Benedetto, who managed a restaurant 3 blocks from Bellini and who had been in a territorial dispute with the Conti family's various interests for 2 years, and who had apparently decided that the most available pressure point was not financial or professional, but personal. Sophia found out about it from Gina. Someone's been asking about you, Gina said. Tuesday morning, before service, her voice lower than its usual register. Around the neighborhood, asking who you are, how long you've been here, whether you're... She stopped. Whether you're close to the Conti family. Sophia's hands went still on the silverware she was rolling. Who's asking? She said. Sal Benedetto's people, Gina said. I heard it from Paulie at the bar on Hester. He said a man came in asking questions. Described you. She met Sophia's eyes. Nadia, you need to tell Luca. I haven't, Sophia started. I know you two aren't. Gina paused. Whatever you are. But you need to tell him. Sophia set down the silverware. She thought about the Mulberry Street walk, about people I care about the line and what it meant, and what sitting at the corner table on Thursdays had made her. Visible. She'd become visible. She'd chosen the adjacency. She just hadn't fully understood until this moment what adjacency cost. Her throat was tight. Her hands were cold. She picked up her phone. She texted Luca. "I need to talk to you. Not Thursday. Now, if you can." His reply came in 40 seconds. "I'm 10 minutes away. Stay in the restaurant." She stayed in the restaurant. He arrived in 8 minutes. He came through the door with the particular quality of movement that she now recognized as him being careful. The controlled version, the one where everything was managed because something required managing. He looked at her face, read something in it that his own face responded to in the way faces responded to things when they were past performing. She told him about Benedetto's people, about the questions, about what Gina had heard. He listened without interrupting. When she finished, the silence lasted exactly long enough. "I'm sorry," he said. "Don't," she said. "Sophia, I chose this," she said. "I told you on Mulberry Street. I knew what I was choosing." Her voice was steady. Her hands were less steady. I needed you to know." He looked at her. "This is what I was afraid of," he said quietly. "From the beginning. Not you. At the cost of you." He looked at his hands. "The people who want to get to me look for the things that can be gotten to." "Am I a thing that can be gotten to?" she said. "No," he said, immediately. "You're a person who's now adjacent to a situation that has consequences I can manage, but shouldn't require you to experience." He looked up. "This is exactly what Luca!" Her voice was clear. "I'm not asking you to manage it for me. I'm asking you to tell me what I need to know." He looked at her for a long moment. "Benedetto is making a point," he said. "He wants me to know he's watching. This is how he does it. He finds the edges and he presses them." He paused. "He's not going to touch you. That's not what this is. It's information gathering." "Why is that reassuring?" she said. "Because it means I have time," he said. "To handle it before it becomes something that requires you to change your life." She looked at him. "And if it becomes that, anyway," she said. He held her gaze. "Then we figure out what you're willing to do," he said. "Together. With the full picture." A pause. "I promised you the full picture." "Yes," she said. "You did." She looked at the restaurant around her. Bellini and the Tuesday morning quiet, the silverware and the white tablecloths, and the corner table on the terrace where Carmela came every Thursday, and where something had been building for months that she'd walked into, with her eyes as open as she could keep them. "Okay," she said. He looked at her like that word was doing a lot of work. "Okay," he said. "You said together," she said. "I'm saying okay to together." Something moved through his expression, the multiple things, but one of them more visible than the others now. The one she'd been watching develop over 4 months of Thursday afternoons, and one Mulberry Street walk, and a corner table with Pretezi linen. He reached across the service counter and covered her hand with his. Just that. No words. Her hand was still cold. His was warm. She didn't move it away. The week after the Benedetto conversation was the strangest of Sophia's time at Bellini. Not because anything dramatic happened. The opposite. Nothing happened. She worked her shifts, served her tables, took Carmela's Thursday order and sat with her during the slow hour and listened to a story about Aldo that involved a ferry, a misread map, and the specific stubbornness of a man who refused to admit he'd taken the wrong route until they were 40 minutes into the wrong route. He never admitted it, Carmela said. Not once. He just started calling it the scenic way. Did you let him? Sophia said. Of course, Carmela said. It was a good story afterward. That's the point of certain arguments. They become stories. She looked at her wine. Everything becomes a story eventually. You might as well make them good ones. Sophia thought about that. Nothing happened. But the nothing had a texture to it that she could feel. The ambient awareness of being watched from somewhere she couldn't locate. The specific consciousness of her own movements in the neighborhood. Walking to the subway. Coming out of the bodega on her corner in Brooklyn. The ordinary geography of her life suddenly overlaid with a new kind of attention. She didn't tell Carmela. She told Gina, and because Gina already knew, and because not talking about it with Gina was its own kind of exhausting. You're handling it well, Gina said. I'm not handling anything, Sophia said. I'm waiting. That's handling it, Gina said. Most people can't wait. They do something stupid because waiting feels like doing nothing. Waiting feels like doing nothing because it is doing nothing, Sophia said. Waiting is doing something, Gina said. It's trusting the person who said they'd handle it. She looked at Sophia. Do you trust him? Sophia thought about a hand over hers on the service counter. About 8 minutes and 40 seconds. Yes, she said. I don't entirely understand why. But yes, that's enough, Gina said. For now. Luca texted every day that week. Not long messages. He wasn't a long message person. Short, specific, functional, odd updates that were also something else. Benedetto's situation is being addressed. Nothing to worry about today. How was service? My mother says you gave her extra bread today. She considers this a personal victory. Are you sleeping okay? That last one had arrived at 11:15 on a Wednesday night when she was sitting on her Brooklyn apartment floor with her back against the couch and her second glass of wine, and her thoughts running the loop they ran when she was alone, and the day had been long. She stared at the text. Are you sleeping okay? 4 words, from a man who used words the way he used everything, precisely, without excess, because they meant something rather than because they filled space. She typed back, mostly. Are you? His reply. No, but that's not new. She looked at her wine glass. Or at her Brooklyn apartment, the small one, the one she'd moved to after the culinary program fell through, the one that had become more hers over 2 years than anywhere she'd lived since leaving her parents' house. She typed. What keeps you up? A pause, longer than his usual response time. Then, the cost of things, whether it's worth it, whether I've calculated right. She looked at those words for a long time. Have you? She typed. Another pause. I think so, he replied. I'm less certain than I used to be. I think that's better. She put the phones down. Picked it up. Luca, she typed. Yeah, I'm okay. You can sleep. A pause. I know you're okay, he replied. That's not why I'm awake. She sat with that. Her chest was doing the thing it did. The thing she'd stopped trying to name and had just started living with. She picked up her wine glass, put it down, went to bed. Slept eventually, better than she had all week. The Benedetto situation resolved on a Friday. She found out not from Luca directly. He was careful about what he told her, and how, in the way she was beginning to understand, was a form of protection rather than exclusion. she found out from the quality of his text that Friday afternoon. "It's done. You can stop watching your back." She was between tables when it came in. She stood at the service station for a moment, the phone in her hand, the restaurant noise around her. "What does done mean?" she typed. "Benedetto has agreed that certain interests are off limits," he replied, "including people adjacent to mine." "How did you get him to agree?" "I made the cost of disagreeing clear." She looked at the text. "Are you okay?" she typed. The reply took 30 seconds. "Yes." "Why?" "Because making the cost clear sounds like something that cost you something too." A longer pause. "Nothing I wasn't prepared to pay," he replied. "That's the calculation I was awake doing." She put the phone in her apron pocket, went back to her tables, served the rest of the shift with the particular focus of someone who was processing something large and had decided the processing could wait until she was off the clock. She went to him after her shift. This was new. She'd never gone to him. The dynamic had always been him coming to Bellini, to the bar, to the terrace, to her orbit rather than her entering his. She didn't entirely know what his orbit looked like outside Thursday afternoons, and one walk down Mulberry Street. She texted, "Where are you?" His reply was an address. Little Italy, 2 blocks from Bellini. Was above a restaurant she'd walked past 100 times without knowing what was above it. She went. The building entrance was unremarkable. A door between 2 storefronts, a buzzer panel, the particular anonymity of a place that wasn't trying to be noticed. She pressed the button he'd texted her. The door opened without a voice asking who she was, which meant someone was watching a camera, which she'd expected. 3rd floor, a hallway, a door that opened before she knocked. Luca. He looked different outside the Bellini context. Same build, same tattoos, same quality of controlled presence. But something about being in his own space made the controlled part less necessary. He was in a dark shirt, no jacket, and he looked at her with the expression that was several things at once, but that she could now read more completely than she'd been able to on the terrace stones 3 months ago. Concern, relief, something that lived underneath both of those that he hadn't finished deciding what to do with. "You didn't have to come," he said. "I know," she said. She came in. The apartment was not what she'd expected, though she hadn't fully formed an expectation. Clean, spare, the kind of space that had been organized by someone who didn't keep things they didn't use. A kitchen that showed signs of actual cooking, real signs, not performance, the worn wooden board, the specific arrangement of olive oil and salt, and the good pepper in the spot they were used from rather than displayed. A bookshelf with actual books. A photograph on the wall, black and white. A family, a street she recognized as Little Italy from decades earlier. She looked at the photograph. "My grandparents," he said, from behind her. "That's Mulberry Street. 50 years ago, maybe more. You can still see the bones of it," she said. "The street looks the same. Some things don't change," he said. She turned. He was standing in the middle of his own apartment, looking at her with the expression that had stopped managing itself somewhere between the door and now. "Are you actually okay?" she said. "Not the text version, the real version." He looked at her for a long moment. "Tired," he said. "The calculation this week was, it took something." He looked at his hands. Benedetto needed to understand certain things in a language he respects. That language is not. He stopped. It's not one I prefer using. But you used it, she said. Yes. For me, she said. For what you're adjacent to, he said, which is me. She looked at this man in his spare apartment, with his grandmother's olive oil board, and his grandparents' street on the wall, and the tired under his eyes that he'd been awake making calculations with, and she felt the thing she'd been not naming for 3 months arrive at its full size. "Luca," she said. "Yeah. I need to say something, and I need you to let me say it without immediately finding a way to—" "I won't," he said. "Say it." She looked at him. "I'm in this," she said. "Not the adjacency, not the Thursday lunches, not whatever careful version of this we've been building." She held his gaze. "I'm in it, all the way. Whatever that means and whatever it costs." She paused. "I need you to know that, so you stop calculating whether to protect me from it by keeping me at a distance." He was very still. "Sophia, I watched my grandmother sit alone in restaurants for years after my nonno died," she said. "I watched what it did to her, the specific way a person gets smaller when nobody sees them anymore." Her voice was steady. "Your mother is the first person I've been able to. I've been trying to give her what I couldn't give my grandmother. That's why I started." She paused. "That's not why I stayed." He looked at her. "Why did you stay?" he said. She looked at him steadily. "You came in 8 minutes," she said. "You own a building and half a neighborhood, and you came in 8 minutes when I called." She paused. "Nobody in my life has ever come in 8 minutes." His jaw moved. "Sophia," he said, "but the way you said a name when it meant something more than identification." "I know what I'm choosing," she said. "I chose it on Mulberry Street. I'm just saying it clearly now, so there's no version of this where you think you're protecting me by pulling back." She held his gaze. "You don't get to protect me from you. That's not how this works." The apartment was quiet around them. The Little Italy sounds from below. A restaurant, voices, the particular living noise of a neighborhood that had been doing this for generations. He crossed the room, stopped in front of her, close enough that she could see the specific quality of the expression clearly. The multiple things, all of them visible now. None of them managed. "I've been careful for a long time," he said, "about not letting things matter too much." He looked at her steadily. "And then you were on your knees on the terrace stones, holding my mother's hands and talking to her so she wouldn't be embarrassed, and I stood in that doorway and—" He stopped. "And?" she said. "And I stopped being careful," he said. That fast, before I'd finished the sentence in my head about being careful. He looked at his hands. "I've been trying to put the careful back since then. It's not working." "Stop trying," she said. He looked at her. Then he reached up and put his hand against her face. The tattooed one, the one that had covered hers on the service counter, warm the same way. She leaned into it slightly. Just slightly. "I love you," he said, directly. No softening. The way he said everything that mattered. Her chest was full. "I know," she said. "I love you too." She looked at him. "Now, will you please stop losing sleep over calculations and let me—" He kissed her. Brief. Certain. The way he was certain about things when he'd decided them. She stayed where she was after. "The espresso's going cold," she said. Because there was an espresso on the kitchen counter she'd noticed when she came in that was clearly made before she'd arrived. He looked at the counter. Back at her. "I made it before you texted," he said. "I was going to come to you." She looked at the espresso. "You were going to come," she said. "You beat me to it," he said. She looked at this man, the 8 minutes, the espresso, the grandmother's olive oil board, the photograph of Mulberry Street 50 years ago, and felt the complete, specific weight of being somewhere she was supposed to be. "Good," she said. We'll split the difference." He almost smiled, the almost one that had become as familiar as the real one. Outside, Little Italy kept going. Winter came to Little Italy the way it always did, gradually and then all at once, the temperature dropping by degrees until one morning you walked outside and the neighborhood had made the shift without announcing it. The outdoor heaters at Bellini's terrace went from optional to essential. Carmela's Thursday lunches moved inside to the round table by the window, which she accepted with the mild tolerance of someone who preferred the terrace, but understood that seasons were not negotiable. She did not accept the change without comment. "The window table has no view," she told Sophia on the first indoor Thursday. "It has a view of the street," Sophia said. "The street in winter looks like the street in winter," Carmela said. "The terrace in fall had light." "The terrace in winter has ice," Sophia said. Carmela looked at her. "I'm 78, she said. "Not fragile." "I know," Sophia said, "but I'd like you to stay 78 for a while longer. Humor me." Carmela picked up her wine glass. "You sound like him," she said. "Is that bad?" Sophia said. Carmela's expression did the thing. Not quite a smile, the internal version. "No," she said. "It's not bad at all." The changes were small and accumulative. That was how things changed with Luca. Not dramatically, not with announcements, just the steady accumulation of someone becoming part of the texture of a life. He started meeting her after her Thursday shift sometimes, waiting on the sidewalk outside Bellini with the patient stillness of someone who had decided where he was going to be and was there. They walked, ate, talked in the way they'd been talking since the Mulberry Street evening. Honestly, without the performance of conversation, the two of them finding the register where they both existed most comfortably. She met Dario, Luca's cousin, who had the family jaw and none of the family stillness, and talked enough for 3 people, and looked at her with the assessing eye of someone deciding whether she was right for something he cared about. He decided in the first 20 minutes. "You don't let him get away with things," Dario said to her, while Luca was in the kitchen of the apartment making pasta. Actual pasta, from scratch, which he'd learned from his grandmother, and which he cooked with the focused attention he brought to everything that mattered. "What things?" Sophia said. "The closed-off version," Dario said. "The one where everything's fine, and nothing's a problem, and he's handled it." He gestured toward the kitchen. "He does that with everyone. Has for years." He looked at her. "He doesn't do it with you?" "How do you know?" she said. "Because he told me about the espresso," Dario said. She looked at him. "What espresso?" "The one he made before you texted," Dario said. "The night you came to him. He told me he made the espresso before you contacted him, because he knew you'd come." He paused. "He knew you'd come? That's not something he's said about anyone before." He picked up his wine. I've known him 36 years. He doesn't know people are coming. He prepares for them not coming. Sophia looked at the kitchen, at Luca at the counter with the pasta dough, the focused attention, the grandmother's wooden board. He's different now, Dario said. Not different like a person who changed. Different like a person who found the version of themselves they'd been not quite being. She looked at her wine glass. That's a good way to say it, she said. I have my moments, Dario said. Victor Mancini resigned from Bellini in early winter. Not dramatically. Victor didn't do dramatic. He gave 4 weeks' notice, cited a new opportunity in a different neighborhood, and departed with the careful dignity of a man who understood that certain decisions about the restaurant's management direction had been made above his level and was choosing to frame his departure as his own. Sophia found out from Gina. He's leaving, Gina said. Tuesday morning, same low register she used for significant information. I heard, Sophia said. Do you know why? He said he had another opportunity. Gina looked at her. He has another opportunity because the building owner expressed certain preferences about the management culture at Bellini, she said carefully. Specifically regarding how staff who demonstrate exceptional care for long-term regular customers are treated. Sophia set down her silverware. Luca did that, she said. The building owner, Gina said. Now that's how these things are communicated. She looked at Sophia. How do you feel about it? Sophia thought about the hallway. About this is a staffing decision. It's not negotiable. About the specific quality of being managed by someone who cared more about appearances than people, and who had made her feel, more than once, that caring too much was a professional liability. I don't know, she said honestly. I didn't ask him to. No, Gina said. But he saw something that was wrong and he fixed it, in the way he fixes things. She paused. Is that bad? Sophia thought about it. No, she said, but I need to talk to him about it. Good, Gina said. That's the right answer. She talked to him that evening. Not with anger, with the specific directness she'd told him about on the Mulberry Street walk, the thing she didn't perform, while she told him she knew about Victor, that she hadn't asked for it, that she appreciated what he'd been trying to do, and that she needed him to understand something about how this worked between them. He listened. He was good at listening, better than people who looked at him expected, which was a thing she'd noticed early and kept noticing. Tell me, he said, when she'd laid out the first part. I don't want to be managed, she said. I don't want my job protected from above. I don't want people removed from situations I'm capable of handling. She held his gaze. I handled Victor. I was handling Victor. I had 2 years of handling Victor, and I was fine. He moved you off the terrace section, Luca said. And you reversed it, she said. And that one I accepted, because it was about your mother and her Thursday, and that mattered more than my professional dignity. She paused. But Victor leaving because you made certain preferences clear, that's different. He looked at her. He made you feel like caring too much was a liability, he said. I know, she said, and that was worth addressing. But I needed to be the one who addressed it. She looked at him steadily. You understand the difference? He was quiet for a moment. Yes, he said. I understand the difference. He looked at his hands. I act first. I told you that. It's the thing I'm working on. I know you are, she said. I'm not angry. I'm telling you because you promised me the full picture, and this is part of the full picture of us." She paused. "We tell each other things, and we don't arrange things for each other without telling each other first." "That's fair," he said. "It's necessary," she said. He looked at her. "You're right," he said. No deflection, no managing, just the acknowledgement. "I know," she said. He almost smiled. She'd started doing this, the deliberate echo of Carmela's flat self-assurance, and he'd started recognizing it, and what it looked like on his face when he recognized it was something she'd begun to collect. "The new manager," he said. "I'd like you to have input on who's hired, if that's something you want." She looked at him. "Yes," she said. "That's something I want." "Okay," he said. The Sunday dinner started in January. Carmela had been angling for it since November. Sophia was aware of this without it being said directly, or in the way she was aware of most things Carmela was angling for. The hints had been present in the Thursday lunches, a mention of a recipe, a reference to what Aldo used to make on Sunday afternoons, the particular quality of a woman building toward something she intended to have. Luca had asked her in December directly. "My mother wants a Sunday dinner. With you." "With us?" Sophia said. "You mean with us?" "With you specifically," he said. "I'm assumed." She'd laughed. The dinner was at Carmela's apartment. Not Luca's, Carmela's own. The one in Little Italy she'd lived in for 40 years. The one that had the kind of accumulated domestic history that apartments got when a family had lived and cooked and argued and loved in them for long enough. It smelled like good things when Sophia arrived, like Sunday was supposed to smell. Carmela met her at the door in an apron. "You're early," Carmela said. "You told me to come early," Sophia said. "I did," Carmela said. "Come in. You're making the pasta." Sophia came in, made the pasta, under Carmela's direction, which was thorough, opinionated, and frequently contradictory in the specific way of people who cooked by feel rather than formula, and then tried to describe the feeling in measurable terms. Luca arrived an hour later, came into the kitchen, looked at Sophia at the counter with flour on her hands, and Carmela standing beside her, narrating the pasta, with the authority of someone who had been right about food since before Sophia was born. He stood in the kitchen doorway. His face did the thing, the full version. Not the multiple things managing themselves, just the one thing, clear and complete. Sophia looked at him over her shoulder. "The pasta's almost ready," she said. "I can see that," he said. "Your mother is very particular about the thickness," she said. "I know," he said. "She's been telling me for 20 minutes that my nonno would have been ashamed of how I was rolling it." "My nonno would have been ashamed," Carmela said, without looking up. "That's not personal. It's professional." Luca came into the kitchen, stood beside Sophia at the counter, looked at the pasta. "It looks right to me," he said. "You don't know pasta," Carmela said. "I grew up in this kitchen," he said. "And yet," Carmela said. Sophia looked at the pasta, at Carmela, at Luca beside her at the counter. She was in someone's Sunday kitchen making pasta from scratch, while an old woman argued with her son about thickness, and the smell of something good was everywhere. And outside, the Little Italy winter was doing what it did, the specific warmth of it, not temperature, the other kind. She pressed her palms into the dough. "Thinner," Carmela said. "Yes, ma'am," Sophia said. Luca made a sound, brief, the beginning of a laugh. "Don't you start," Sophia said. "I didn't say anything," he said. "You made the sound," she said. "That was a supportive sound," he said. Carmela said, in the tone that meant she was not commenting on the pasta. After dinner, after the pasta and the ossobuco Carmela had made, and the wine and the particular extended production of an Italian Sunday table that didn't hurry itself toward its conclusion, May Sophia and Luca did the dishes while Carmela sat at the kitchen table with her espresso and pretended to read a magazine. She wasn't reading the magazine. "She's watching us," Luca said quietly at the sink. "I know," Sophia said. "She's been watching us since September. She's satisfied," he said. "She's smug," Sophia said. "Is there a difference?" "With her, no," Sophia said. "Not really." She handed him a dish. He dried it. The ordinary domestic rhythm of two people who had figured out how to be in a kitchen together. "Sophia," he said. "Yeah. I want to say something." She looked at him. "The thing you said in my apartment," he said, "about your grandmother sitting alone in restaurants, about trying to give my mother what you couldn't give her." He looked at the dish in his hands. "I've been thinking about it since." "And?" she said. "And I think you gave her more than that," he said. "I think you gave her Thursday back." He looked up. "She used to love Thursdays. When my father was alive, Thursday was their day. They'd go out, eat, walk. After he died, Thursday was just a day." He paused. "She started coming to Bellini because it was something to do with Thursday. And then you were there." He looked at her. "You gave her Thursday back." Her throat was doing something. "She gave me something too," Sophia said. "She gave me you." He set the dish down, turned toward her, reached up and put his hand against her face, the same way he had in the apartment. The tattooed one, warm, certain. "I know," he said. From the kitchen table, Carmela turned a page of the magazine she wasn't reading. The following spring, poor Carmela Conti walked onto the Bellini terrace for the first time since winter, sat at the corner table in the new chair, the one with the rubber feet that didn't slip on uneven stone, and ordered the minestrone, the veal piccata, and the Barolo. Sophia brought it without being asked, sat across from her during the slow hour. At 12:45, Luca came through the restaurant door, not the bar this time, not the window, and sat at the corner table beside his mother. He'd taken to joining them for the last part of the Thursday lunch. Carmela had made a show of allowing this. Everyone understood she had planned it from the beginning. A new ring on Sophia's left hand caught the spring light. Carmela looked at it. Then she picked up her wine glass. "The pasta at the engagement dinner," she said, "was better than your first attempt." "Thank you," Sophia said. "It was still not as good as mine," Carmela said. "Nothing is as good as yours," Luca said. "Correct," Carmela said. She raised her glass. They raised theirs. Outside, Little Italy moved through its Thursday the way it had moved through every Thursday for 100 years, loud and alive, indifferent to individual stories, containing all of them. The terrace caught the spring light. Everything was ordinary. Everything was entirely right.